Or is this full-time MMA now?
I love full-time MMA right now.
Full-time MMA?
MMA.
Nothing else?
My life, man, yeah.
Back to the daily grind, and shout out to the full-time patrons. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov is in the works, full-time family. I'm going to assume someone from the UFC is talking to Conor McGregor's team or Conor McGregor. We've heard Dana White has had plans to meet with Conor McGregor and discuss his future in the UFC anytime after his court date, which already passed. It was a really quick deal. Conor McGregor negotiating a plea deal so he could potentially get back in this octagon this year. And now we've had I'm almost to the point where I'm like 95% sure this fight happens. We've had rumblings from both camps, rumblings from the UFC, just a little, hearsay that the fight's likely to happen. Now we've got Khabib Nurmagomedov himself coming out and confirming the UFC's working on the fight. But just because the UFC's working on the fight does not mean it's a guarantee. We know Conor McGregor is the biggest star in the UFC, and he realizes his worth, it seems like, at this point, because we've heard Conor McGregor talk about equity and getting a piece of the pie. With the UFC selling for $4 billion and Conor McGregor knowing he's the biggest star, he might be in a position where he's trying to make a business decision like, hey, I know you guys want me to fight, but that's because I'm your biggest star. So what are we going to do to make this right? I'm Conor McGregor. I'm probably half the reason you guys sold for $4 billion. So how about we give me a piece of the pie? That's all I'm asking. But there's a lot of negotiations that have to go on, because also Conor McGregor could have lost a little bit of his bargaining power when he threw a damn dolly at the bus and got arrested in the Barclays and stuff like that. So the negotiations have to take place. There's no guarantee that we see Conor McGregor come back this year, but it's pretty close. And this is what Khabib Nurmagomedov did have to say. He said, "This year I want to defend my title. About opponents, I don't know, to be honest. I don't know, but the UFC are working on a fight versus Conor. When the UFC gives me a fight, I'm going to come to California. I'm going to stay at AKA for 9 weeks with my family before the fight. And I'm going to defend my title." He continued to say, "If they give me Conor McGregor, I'm going to fight Conor. If they give me a different opponent, GSP, or the winner of Eddie Alvarez versus Poirier, it doesn't matter. Let's go." So Khabib sounded like he's just ready to defend his title at the end of the year. And this is expected. I would hope Khabib was ready to defend his title toward the end of the year. He won the fight at the beginning of the year. He had to observe Ramadan, which some fighters fight through Ramadan. That's not necessarily the case for Khabib. He takes his time. He doesn't want to put himself in there at risk, to maybe preserve that undefeated record. Khabib is, if not the only, one of the only undefeated fighters in the UFC with that many wins, 26-0. That's almost unheard of in the UFC. But with that being said, now Khabib is the UFC's undisputed lightweight champion, and there's been mentions of other opponents. Hell, even Khabib, before he became the champion, said, "If I become the champion, I'm going to make Conor McGregor humble. I'm going to make him wait for the title." But you know how that goes, man. Once you get that belt and the UFC starts telling you, listen, listen, Khabib, I know you want to make Conor McGregor humble. I know he's did some shit you don't agree with. I'm just saying, look, this is the type of numbers Conor McGregor brings in on pay-per-views. This is the type of audience you're gonna have watching you. This is not just about money. This is I would just assume it would be kind of easier to convince somebody to fight Conor McGregor. No, I'm not fighting Conor like Khabib. You know what I'm saying? It's Conor McGregor we're talking about here. So with that being said, it seems like Khabib has opened up to the potential of fighting Conor McGregor. Okay, maybe we'll make him humble in the fight. You know what I'm saying? But if that does happen, it's going to be a great fight. It's going to be a fight that the world wants to see, not even just the hardcore fans. There's so much layers into this fight. I mean, for one, it's going to be a great stylistic matchup between two of the best lightweights in the world. It's going to be interesting to see how much Conor McGregor's takedown defense and grappling has improved. Because if he's not able to stretch Khabib out in the first round, if he's not able to knock Khabib unconscious in the first round, if Khabib ever gets a hold of Conor McGregor in a grappling situation, it could be bad news bears for Conor McGregor, no pun intended, because Khabib does grapple with bears. So with that being said, man, Going to be a great fight. On top of the bus incident, you know, Conor McGregor was really coming for Khabib. A lot of people know that, but if you don't, that's who Conor McGregor's really kind of target was in that situation when he threw the dolly. You know, he was pissed off that Khabib was in that bus. He was pissed off at what Khabib did. Conor McGregor came in through the back though because what Khabib had done the previous day. You know, so these guys' teams don't like each other. This shit is deeper than rap, Khabib versus Conor McGregor. So if it happens, I cannot wait. And it looks like the UFC is officially working on this super fight. So with that being said, I'll keep you guys updated. But just as far as where this fight could potentially happen, I'll bring this to you guys. This is a list of the UFC's upcoming events for the rest of the year, starting with Miocic vs. Cormier that comes up in about 2 weeks. And if you look here, there's a date for all of these locations. And as far as Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov, if it happens, it's taking place in Las Vegas. Dana White has said that multiple times now. It's not happening in Moscow. The UFC is going to Russia September 15th to Moscow. But that's just going to be a fight night card. We've already got a headliner for that card. So if Khabib's fighting next, it's going to be Vegas for Conor McGregor. Dana White said the fight is just too big. So let's look at the pay-per-views upcoming that don't have a name yet. They're in Vegas. And the only one I see that's available, it's looking like UFC 229. Now, there is, if you look, UFC 227 is headlined by Garbrandt versus Dillashaw. 228 doesn't have a headliner yet, but the thing about UFC 228 is it also doesn't have a location yet, and so we'll see where that takes place. But Khabib has also mentioned a couple of dates, you know, as far as his next fight, October, maybe November. But we know in November the UFC likes to go to Madison Square Garden. November 3rd, that's already booked. So I'll just say, looking at the UFC's upcoming schedule, we could be looking at Conor McGregor versus Khabib at UFC 229. And just to further talk about this fight, John Kavanagh, Conor McGregor's head coach, has also came out in the last few days and said he's very confident Conor McGregor versus Khabib is next. So as I said earlier in the video, there's been rumblings. Now we're hearing it from Khabib that the Conor fight is in the works. Now we're hearing John Kavanagh very confident that this fight is next. So literally all signs are pointing towards Khabib versus Conor McGregor toward the end of this year. And I'm already starting to get excited thinking about that because, you know, there was no guarantee. Conor had to get through his legal situation. Khabib was talking about making him, there was no guarantee we were going to get this fight. And now it's looking like it's building toward that point. And I'm kind of getting excited over here, full-time family, for this potential fight because it's going to be crazy. But this is what John Kavanagh, Conor McGregor's head coach at SBG Ireland, had to say. Yeah, so it's the obvious fight. As his coach and as a fan of MMA, it's the fight I want to see. He said, I would almost bet anything that this fight happens before the end of the year. I can't imagine it not happening. So very confident words from John Kavanagh as far as this fight is concerned. And so with that being said, man, I think I've said enough on this video. Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov is in the works for what looks like UFC 229. We can't be too sure at UFC 229, but if you wanted my educated guess, I would say they would be the headline of that card, which would be absolutely insane. And it's going to be happening before the end of the year. It's going to be awesome to see Conor McGregor back in the UFC cage. Awesome to see Khabib back since winning that title, and then just the fight itself, it adds on to it. So I'm pumped. Let the full-time family know what you guys think in the comments, and make sure you go to Patreon because I'm putting a lot of new videos over there today as well, yesterday, the day before, and it's all free. So patreon.com/fulltimemma. And before we go, shout out to all the full-time MMA white belts that have hit the subscribe button. Make sure you also hit the notification bell right next to it so you're notified every time I upload a video. And if you want to become a full-time MMA blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, or black belt, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/fulltimemma. I'm out.
Bye, Felicia.